Hello, hello, hello. Hope everyone out there is well. Tonight, I wanted to come to you and see if I could tell the whole story of how I found intuitive eating or how it found me. Um, let's see. It was back in, well, I found intuitive eating in the beginning of 2018. But in order to lead up to that and go into it, I have to tell you about the decade before. So in 2008, I was in a little bit of a financial pickle, so I had to pick up some extra work. So I started working 7 days a week. And after about a couple of months, I was like, man, I got to lose some weight and I got to get in shape because if I'm going to do this, you know, any kind of long term, I don't want to keel over of a heart attack, So I was, I think, about 41 or yeah, I think I was 41. And so I started dieting. I was working at a law firm during the week, and then on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, I was bartending at a local pizzeria restaurant. So I had known this family like my whole life. I've always been a patron of that place. So they kind of knew me. I kind of knew them. And anyway, I started working there in September of 2008. And a couple of months later, like early November, late October, we were talking. I said, yeah, I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to go on a diet. And they were like, oh, let's do a biggest loser contest. So I was like, all right, but I'm just going to kick your guy's ass because men lose weight a lot faster than women. It's just a fact. And they were like, don't worry, we don't care. We don't care. So I was like, all right, because it was mostly all women that you know, they own the restaurant and whatever. So we start the contest, and like every week, I don't know, we put in a certain amount of money, like $20 or whatever, and whoever wins like loses the most weight for the week, gets half the pot, and the other half goes to the end prize. So I won like 10 out of the 12 weeks, and I won the whole prize because I lost the most weight. Um, Before we started the contest, we weighed ourselves, and I weighed like 315. And I mean, I'm not a big frame guy. I'm like 5'10", just under 5'10". And, I'm not like huge muscular. So it was a lot of weight for my frame. And I felt like absolute crap. So it was good that I lost, I don't remember how much weight I lost, 30, 40 pounds in 12 weeks, maybe a little less. I don't remember. But the important part is I thought that this was going to be it. This was going to be my journey and I was going to stick to it. And so I took the money that I won at the end of the contest and I bought one of those elliptical machines. It was like a folding one so I could keep it upstairs in my house. And I started using that. And then, of course, that kind of faded. And, I was on and off, restriction and, dieting for like I said, 10 years. Um, yeah, in the winter, I would do great. I would exercise. I would, be strict with myself. And then when the summer came, the wheels fell off the cart and it was barbecues and beers. And, it was just, that's what happened. So I would always resolve, like in the summer, when the summer came, I was like, all right, maybe I'll gain 5, 10 pounds, but I'll get rid of it in the fall and then I'll lose more. So my weight went down and then up and then down and then up again. And it was like that. And I would always lose a little more. I was at 265, then I would go down to 235, then I'd go back up to 245 and go down to, so that way I was making progress, but it wasn't sustainable. Every year I hit the same hill. And then I had to go back up the hill in fall and winter. And it was, but I was committed. Like I was really committed but it took a long time. And my goal was 100 pounds. And by 2016, I kind of just like let it go. I stopped. You know how that is. You just, you kind of just like, people ask, and the thing is, people telling you all the time, like, oh, you look great. You lost weight. Oh, you look great. What are you doing? Oh, man, I wish I had your willpower, this and that. And I hated that. I hated people complimenting me on losing weight because I didn't want to do it for compliments. I wanted to do it from myself. It was always the battle of my life. So even when my mother would say, "Oh, you look good," I'd be like, "No, don't say that to me. I don't want to hear it." You know, because ultimately she was the one who did it to me in the first place, and I kind of knew that at the time, but I just didn't want to hear it anymore. So that was part of what bothered me about losing weight. And of course, the other part was I knew ultimately it was unsustainable. So my jets had cooled in 2016. It was 8 years. I was still working 7 days a week. It was a really rough time. I was getting burnt out. I was literally mentally kind of losing my stuff. So, I mean, nothing serious, but you just get so stressed and so tired and exhausted, and you're always working. So it was the end of 2016, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back on. I'm gonna be good, and I'm gonna finish out what I started. And so I'm sitting there one Saturday night. I got home, got changed, laying on the couch with my daughter. She was in 2016. Yeah, she was like 11, and we were up, and we were watching Saturday Night Live, and the fake news comes on there, the Saturday SNL update, whatever, and the guy's reading the story, and he's like, "Oh, a man in Australia decided to eat potatoes for 1 year, and he died," or something like that. I don't remember the joke, but I was like, "Is this real? Is it for real? Some guy ate potatoes for a year?" So I get on my phone, I look it up, and it was true. I forget his name, Andrew Taylor or something like that, but it was true. He ate potatoes for the whole year of 2016, and he was just about to finish his year long, and then he was going to transition into whole food, plant-based diet. So I was like, that's really interesting. I love potatoes. So I'm like, maybe I can do that. So I looked into it. I did a little research, and there had been several, whatever you want to call them, experiments, and several, people had done it before. And so I looked into the nutrition of it, and I was like, you know what? This could probably work. If this guy did it, I could do it. So I told my wife, we talked it over, and she was like, just don't be crazy. If you don't feel good, just go off. And I'm like, yes, of course. So this was the beginning of 2017. I think I started the potato diet like January 5th, after the New Year dust settled. And I ate nothing but potatoes, hemp seeds, maple syrup, and I believe that's been about it, except for like condiments, which were, I tried to pick like the most healthy or vegan ones, and which turns out maybe they're not that healthy, but so I did that the whole year. I'm not going to go into detail. I didn't do it the whole year. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I did it until I finally lost my 100th pound. So when I started the potato thing, I don't remember how heavy I was, but I lost 55 pounds in 7 months. So I went from January 5th to like August 5th. And I finally got on the scale, and I had lost the 100th pound. There was no crowd in the back cheering for me. No fireworks went off. No announcer announced that I was like the best guy in the world. And lo and behold, I was I lost 100 pounds, and I was like depressed. It was like anticlimactic. I thought maybe I would feel different, but I still had that thing inside of me saying like I wasn't good enough. I should lose more. That's nothing. It's not really like it took you almost 10 years to do. Really. And I went to see my doctor, and he was like, wow, your blood work's really good. Your cholesterol's down, your pressure's good, this and that, but your triglycerides a little high. He's like, do you think you could transition into food now and maybe not eat so many potatoes? So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna transition to a whole food, plant-based diet. So I went vegan. I started eating, I started making, vegan food. And, along with the prior 7 months making just potatoes for myself and then helping cook for my family, it was a job. It was a job in itself. And I was working 7 days a week. So can you imagine? I had to make sure I had lunches, dinners, weekends. I had to cover myself the whole time. And so I started my vegan thing. And what I would do is just look up recipes for soups and stews and, whatever it was. I would, just make it. I don't remember. But I made some good soups, which I enjoyed. So I'm going through now, finishing August, and I gain a couple of pounds. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. A couple of rebound pounds, no big deal. And I started like getting on the scale like every week, every other week, and I gain another 2 pounds and another couple of pounds. And I'm like, why am I gaining weight? And I'm getting more and more upset, more and more depressed, and obsessing over why can't I keep this weight off? So I got to a point where now I wasn't working at the law firm anymore. I left there in 2015. I was working for a healthcare association in a hospital. And thank God I had my own cubicle, because some days I would sit in the cubicle and literally just weep because I was so depressed. I couldn't understand how I could achieve that 100th pound weight loss, and now I'm gaining it back. And by the time December came, I had gained about 20 pounds or 25 pounds. And the guy who did the potato diet, I had been in touch with him, I guess, through Instagram or something. And he's like, I want you to be on my podcast. So now I accept, but I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're gaining your weight back. It's total imposter syndrome at that moment. It's kicking in. So I went on his podcast and I did, the interview. And I was so depressed. I felt so bad. I felt horrible about myself. I could still feel a little bit of it. It was so emotional. So I was like, you know what? I think I forgot. I signed up for a business course in September of 2017, right at the beginning of me losing weight. And it was with London Real, Brian Rose. You probably could look him up. He's on YouTube and everywhere. But he does this business accelerator, and he taught us how to, have an online business. And, I was going to be a weight loss coach. And at that point, I was like, how am I going to be a weight loss coach if I'm gaining 2 pounds a week, really, from what I just did to my body for like the last 7 months and the last 10 years? But that threw me, like, that's why I was also, another layer of the depression was coming from. I was like, I can't do this. And I had spent money on that course, and, I was doing good in the course, but I just didn't have any self-belief that I could help other people lose weight. What am I going to do? Tell them to eat potatoes? So after that was over, I think it was like late October, early November, I signed up for another course. It was with a Tony Robbins affiliated coaching program. And, excuse me. So we started in January, excuse me. And, we start going through the curriculum, and, there's a weekly coaching call, and, you hop on the calls. And then at the end of the call, they hook two people that were on the call up to each other, and you talk about and try or practice the techniques, the coaching theories and whatnot that they teach you in the class. So I don't remember if it was, probably like the end of January. We'd been doing it for about a month, and they put me on the call with this woman, and she was located in Miami. And we started talking, and started talking about the course and the class and the whatever. And then she asked me what I'm gonna do, and I said, "Well, I wanted to be a weight loss coach, but I don't know, I seem to be gaining weight." And, she was like, "Oh, well, what's going on?" And so I told her the story, and she's like, "Oh my God." She's like, "You work 7 days a week?" She's like, "That's no good." And she's, "That's amazing, but, like, you've been doing it for so long, you need some time off." And, you know, she was very encouraging, and she was like, "Listen, I would like to help you." And I was like, "How?" She's like, "I used to be bulimic, and I healed myself of that eating disorder through intuitive eating." And I was like, "What's that?" She's like, "Let's set something up." She's like, "I'm gonna walk you through 12 weeks. We're gonna, get a phone call every week, and we're gonna go through it, and I'm gonna give you homework and everything." So I was like, "Okay." So at that point, it was February 2018. And yeah, that was the point where I was feeling really burnt out, really depressed, really stressed. So I went to my boss at the pizzeria, and at that point at the restaurant, Sundays were kind of dead anyway. So I told her, "Listen, I can't do Sundays anymore. I'm going crazy." I said, "I can't do it. I need time for myself." So she was like, "Okay." So I finally had a day off, and I went through the 12 weeks of the coaching. Or really, it wasn't like coaching. It was more like mentoring. And she taught me a lot about intuitive eating, and she suggested a couple of books to read. And, there's the intuitive eating book that I picked up. And by the time the 12 weeks came, it was like a different person. Um, I had like a new lease on life. I realized I didn't have to be part of diet culture. I realized I didn't have to be on diets all the time. Um, and I just felt like a total relief on, you know, like a weight off my shoulders, as they say. But that's how I met intuitive eating, and became an intuitive eater at that point. Um, and everybody says, well, it's just, you're just not on diets. And it's not just not being on a diet, because I did that before and I gained a ton of weight. It's not the fuck it diet. It's not, you know, just watching what you eat. Intuitive eating, the 10 principles put you back in tune with how your body was supposed to operate. It's like a holistic system that enables you to realize what you were missing before because of restrictive dieting. It's like they make the example of, like, do you ever go out to dinner with your friends, and there's like always one friend who just like eats whatever they want, but they just never finish what's on their plate. And there I am finishing everything on my plate. And you're like, well, you only ate half your dinner. And they're like, no, I'll eat the rest later. No big deal. Because it's like they still have the innate intuitive ability to say no, push the plate away, and stop, because they feel full and they're satisfied and they ate what they wanted, and it's not an issue. So the thing that restrictive dieting does to you over the years is it disconnects you from your natural rhythms, your natural hunger and satiety cues. And because you are strictly following, only certain foods, only certain amounts, and only at certain times, your body loses, or you lose the ability to read what your body is telling you. That's really what it is. And intuitive eating puts you back in touch with that. And another point people make or people ask is like, aren't I just going to gain a lot of weight? And no, some people gain a little weight. I gained a little weight. But the initial period after you stop dieting and you're learning how to intuitive eat, you are you're refeeding. You're in a period of refeeding. Like psychologically, from being on restrictive diets, you are very preoccupied with food. You don't know when to stop. But when you try and follow the principles and you listen to your body, you eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full, and even if you're not, on a regular eating schedule, or you're doing intermittent fasting, or you don't eat breakfast, or you don't, you know, you forget to eat, or whatever it is, you have to make yourself have like 3 meals a day just to get your body and your metabolism back to realizing that you're being fed. There's no famine. Your body's not gonna, you know, your cortisol levels come down. Your ghrelin and leptin kind of start to equalize, and you mentally like a spring releases. You don't have that pressure anymore of thinking about food, obsessing over food, what you're gonna eat. Oh, I ate too much, or oh, I blew it today. You know, so there's a lot to go into with intuitive eating, and um, also, and I was a chronic dieter because my mother made me into that because she had eating issues or food issues, and I was her scapegoat child. She was narcissistic. She was definitely, she wasn't like a Nazi, mommy dearest, but she had her ways and she got them. She would always get her way. The buck stopped with her, and she made me into that because she didn't, I guess she projected like narcissists, you're their supply. So they have immense insecurities, but they don't let you know. They project that onto you. So I know for a fact that she had, problems with bulimia, not to the extreme, of it, but yeah, I found out some stuff, and I'll go into that in another video sometime. But I think I kind of went off a little bit here, and I don't want to make it too long. I'm happy you guys joined me. I appreciate it. If you could just hit the like button, subscribe, tap the notification bell, I would really appreciate it. It helped me out a lot, tremendously, and I really, really appreciate you guys. I wouldn't be here telling you this stuff if I didn't want to help, and there's going to be more to come, a lot more. All right? Well, you have a good one. Be well. Thank you.